and then we can pull it off afterwards and all of that. So we got a couple more people still joining, and it's not quite 11 yet, so we'll give it another minute or two and get started. So. I actually look kind of good in this light. I don't look so washed out. maybe I'll use this lighting more often. A few more coming in, so. I see some faces I haven't seen in a while. Good morning.
Okay, good.
I got it. And we're recording, so.
Anywhere?
Yeah, Krista, you may want to get onto one of the computers back there so you can kind of follow along. Yeah, that probably is an idea. Yeah, just to help her get on, make sure she can get on. So, well, it is 11, so we're going to go ahead and start. And I'll say good morning. I'm Sandy Miner, if you do not know who I am. And what we're going to do is talk about CMAs and kind of walk through what I call my down and dirty or quick and easy CMA. And it's really kind of easy to do. And the reason that you do them, of course, number one is usually to get listings, and you want to know what the pricing is in order to, accurately price your listing. And it can be a little complicated because there's going to be odd situations where a property's out on acreage, or it has features that other properties don't have. That's not what we're doing today. Right now we're doing, we're just doing a simple. This is kind of like, okay, it's in a subdivision, or it has an area that's pretty populated, because we could go a long, long way in depth on extra steps of properties that are unusual. And sometimes you just need help with those differently. But we do them for, like I said, a listing that's usually the most important. But a lot of times you might want to do it if you're putting an offer in for a buyer. So if you work with a lot of buyers and you're doing a, getting ready to write an offer, they're going to want to know, what is the house worth? Is it priced correctly? So, there's a lot of reasons to do them, and this is kind of the easiest way to do it. Let me preface this also by saying that normally when I'm going on a listing, I've not seen the house. I don't know anything about it. And in most cases, you don't either. I use a two-step approach most of the time. I go look at the house, I write down or put down, take notes of all the things and features, and kind of build the relationship with the seller at the listing appointment. And before I don't give them any pricing, and they're always asking, what do you think it's worth? What do you think it's worth? What do you think it's worth? I may have done some preliminary research before I go, but a lot of times I've not. I've just, maybe I've been doing this 26 years. So if it's in a neighborhood that I already know, and you guys don't have maybe this advantage, I kind of know what stuff is selling for in that neighborhood. But sometimes you don't. Maybe it's in a different town or a different place that I don't go to very often. So, we are licensed in the state of Georgia, right? So we can list property anywhere. And so we may or may not be familiar with it. So what this is going to do is tell you what this house is probably going to sell for, and what it's worth. So it's easier to, just do a quick CMA a lot of times, maybe even before you go. But then you'll modify it after you get back and you've seen the house. Maybe you need to add for some features and upgrades that you weren't aware of. So that's the whole purpose of this. Is there anything specific that you guys want to know to make sure that I cover while I'm doing this? Anybody think of anything or know of anything? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. All right.
I don't know enough to.
Huh?
I don't know enough to ask you.
I get you. I'm not real good at checking the chat while I'm talking, so it's probably better just to shout out at me, but and if you've got a question, so that might make it easier. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you, and what I'm doing is I've got a property that was an expired listing like a year ago, and I'm planning on calling this expired just to see if they're ready to sell now. So we're going to kind of do that one. I have no idea. I've not seen the house. I've seen that it's expired. And like I said, I'm going to share my screen with you and tell you what I do. And I'll preface this up front. This is the office laptop in the training room, and my mouse is horrible. So it drives me crazy because it doesn't let me do what I want to do as often as I would like to. Okay. Share screen, share screen. All right, we're going to share this screen.
You need the other one, the other casting tape?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay.
If I can get in here. So what I normally do, the first thing I do is I go to, if I can get there, to Matrix in FMLS. And I look at, if this weren't an expired, I wouldn't have this, but so we're going to pretend it's not. But this property is in Mableton, and it's at 600 Shannon Green Circle in Mableton. But so the first thing I normally do is I go to the tax record. Does everybody know how to get there in FMLS? You go over to public records and you hit realist tax, and it brings it up. Because again, I don't know anything about this property. So I go over here to the address and I type in 600 Shannon Green. Put circle. And then I'm just going to hit search. If I can get it to go down here to search. As you all can see, I'm very frustrated. This mouse is just the worst. And it's a new mouse, but it's something about the way this computer doesn't detect mice. Doesn't detect the mice because we've had more than one. All right. So, I'm sorry, go ahead. Somebody say something? Okay. What I look for here is the year the house was built, which was 1994. And I look for the square footage, which is saying that it's 2,282. To me, those are probably the most two distinctive things about the house. I don't really care that it's 4 bedrooms. I don't really care that it's 3 baths. And I'm not saying I don't care because I don't care. I do care, but those are not significant. Because what I try and do when I'm doing these is look at this the same way I think an appraiser might look at it. And usually the appraiser looks at a property first and foremost about the age and the square footage. Okay, so we know it's 2,282 square feet. We know it was built in 1974. So I keep that up, and then I go back to Matrix and I start a search, if I can get it to search. And I apologize that this is not working as well as I'd hoped it would. I should have just brought my computer in here. So go to residential. I'm going to do a search. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in that address of 600. Whoops, no, I'm not there. I'm going to go 1 mile to start. And I'm going to type in the address over here of 600 Shannon Green. It's circle. So it brought it up. I'm going to click on it. Everybody with me so far? Okay. Then I'm going to go down here. And what I'm most interested in is I want to find properties. If I can get it to go over here. All right, hang on a minute. Let me go over here and try this. I'm not good with the thing on it. I'm going to get the closed properties. So I've got active checked and I've got closed checked. excuse me, in 180 days, that's the last 6 months, right? Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to the square footage. All right, this was 2282, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 2100 as a minimum, and I'm going to go up to 2400. So I go, 150 to 200 square feet bigger or smaller and get a range. And there's no real rule. You could go 2000 to 2500 if you wanted to. I'm just trying to narrow my search to be a close comparable to the property that we're searching, right? Okay, we also know that it was built in what was it? I lost it, hang on. 1974. So I go down here to the year built, and I go 5 years before and 5 years after. So that would be 1969 to 1979. Okay. Right now, that's all I know about the house, right? I've not seen it. I don't know the inside. I don't know if it's updated. I don't know anything about this particular house. Okay, other than, yeah, it was 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. So from here, if I can get this mouse to work, I just hit search or results. So no, we don't want to give any feedback right now. Thank you. So we have come up with 2 properties that have both sold. If you look at the status, it says closed, and they're in Shannon Green, which is of course the neighborhood this property's in. You notice I didn't put that neighborhood in, right? I just put 1 mile around that property. So we've got 2 properties, and one sold for $264,900 and the other sold for $270,000. So what am I going to price this house at? What do you think? Anybody got any ideas? What would you price it at? I mean, you haven't seen it, but what would you price the house at?
269.9.
Say again.
269.9.
269.9. Okay. Any other guesses?
I would say 270, 275 maybe.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
let's
Okay. I was gonna say in this market, I guess I say 264 because I guess they saying it's a seller's market. I guess I'd say 264 and see what the bid war do. I don't know.
I would go over. I would go to 280. Because
we green.
280.
Yep.
Okay.
Not leaving money on the table.
But what if you get 280, then the appraiser, get an offer for 280, and appraiser comes out and these are the only 2 comps he's got.
And we'll adjust the price.
That's not going to make your seller very happy if you told them you're going to get 284 on and 280.
I would have that conversation with them prior.
Well, the key, in all honesty, is to price it as correctly as you possibly can and be realistic. Yeah, like you say up front, maybe if you're going to do that. I mean, I think it's okay to go over a little bit, but I'm not a real advocate of going 10 or 15,000 over and hoping to see what happens. You're going to get, if it is this hot of a market, you're going to get higher offers anyway, a lot of times. And you've got to be realistic about what it'll appraise for, because you don't want to set an expectation, that, well, everybody's offering 280, so it's definitely going to sell for that, because the appraiser may come out and depending on what the house looks like. And again, we haven't even seen it. This is just based on this. I mean, the highest I would probably suggest listing this house is 270. And of course, the low right now, based on this, is 264. But I really don't feel comfortable with this at all because I only have 2 comparables. And how many does an appraiser normally use? Usually about 4. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my criteria and I'm going to modify this a little bit. And I'm gonna go 2 miles. Because I want to see if there's more comparables that I can look at to maybe justify pricing it a little higher, or to make sure that I'm thinking, because I haven't seen the house, I'm thinking that is the correct thing to do. So let's see what we get when we do that. Okay, well, we've got a few more. There, you know, there's really no more in that neighborhood, but there are other properties that, you know, are similar in age, at least in square footage. That's the other thing. We didn't even look yet at this property, or at the properties we were looking at to see if they were comparable in square footage. We know they're comparable in age. They are all both built in 1974, the ones that are in Shannon Green. But see, you've got higher priced houses around here. But also look at a couple other things. They're actually in Smyrna, even though they're within 2 miles, they're in Smyrna versus, you know, Mableton. You know, may or may not make a difference. But what I kind of do now is I've got 5 properties and to look at. So I go into actually looking at those properties to see if they're similar. Now, before I do that, because this isn't, well, no, I'm not going to do it. I was going to show you the house because it's an expired, but again, I want this to appear that it's a house we don't know anything about. So real quick, let's go back up to the tax record and see what we can learn about this house. So on the tax record, we know it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Let's get down here into the characteristics of the house. Single family, 1/4-acre lot. It's a 2-story. And let's see. Average condition, has a basement, 1,224 square feet. Says it's unfinished. Let's see here. And it's an average condition. It's a full basement. I don't see anything. It's got a garage. So nothing real spectacular about it other than it says that it's on a basement. Okay, so we know it has a basement. We could look and see if they've got other pictures, because sometimes this is from an old listing like the expired. Maybe. Okay, so it does. And it looks like it's got hardwood floors. Aha. So it is a 2-story. Looks like it's frame, it's not brick. So I kind of just glanced through it to see what kind of condition it's in.
Did you click on the picture to bring the pictures up?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. Yeah, in the tax, usually if it's been listed, you know, in tax records, and they have pictures, laminate countertops, white appliances. So it's not had a lot of updates. I mean, it's got hardwood floors. Paint looks pretty neutral. I mean, nothing crazy. A little, it's tiled shower, but it looks like old tile. You know, it's got some kind of neat features, I guess. The beams in the ceiling, whatever. Not a whole lot. Like I said, it's just kind of an average house, and you know, in my opinion. But it looks like they did update their tile shower there. This is their basement because their ceiling's not finished. So that's screen porch, backyard. All right. So now I have an idea of what the house looks like, right? So again, when I'm going into now Matrix and I'm looking at this house, it's really not very comparable, is it? It's not really the same style or anything. It's got a similar square footage and similar age, but it is a brick ranch. So I probably wouldn't use this one because I don't think that an appraiser would use it since it's not comparable. So now I'm going to look at the next one. Well, this one looks a little bit more similar. It's 2,200 square feet. It's a 3-2 versus a 4-3 that the subject property is. But it doesn't have a basement. And this one sold for $334,000. But again, it's in Smyrna, so it's got different schools, it's got different, things than what the property that we're looking at it has. On the market for 11 days. So I may or may not use this one either. All right, here's another property in Smyrna. This one sold for $290. They listed it at $280, and the seller paid $77. See this up here where I'm looking over here? Seller paid some closing costs, so they pretty much added for some closing costs and other things probably. And obviously it appraised. Okay. Could be similar. Does it have a basement? Nope, just a crawl space. But our basement's unfinished, so you can't give a lot of stock in an unfinished basement. Now, what happens when I go there and they finish the basement, it just doesn't show up in tax records?
You have to add value to your whatever price you were thinking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add some value, but do I add the same amount of value that I would to the upstairs? No, because if the upstairs is worth, round numbers, $150 a square foot, most appraisers, and again, I'm not trying to be an appraiser, but I only know what they do because I used to have an appraiser on my team that was a realtor also. Most appraisers only give a value of the upgrade in the basement. It's not a finished unless it's full daylight, because everything else anything below grade only gets a lower value. What that value is honestly depends on the appraiser. Some appraisers will give you $25 a square foot. I've seen them give $10 a square foot depending on how the finishes are. So you can't give a whole lot. So usually what I do is kind of take half of whatever the upstairs value is per square foot and give half of it to the basement to the square footage, excuse me, that's finished. So in other words, if that was 1,200 and something square feet, if only 600 of it were finished, then I would only give like $75 a square foot to that finished area. Does that make sense? But we haven't gotten into that part yet, but I just kind of wanted to bring that up. So let's go on. Let's look at the next one. So far, I mean, these are okay, but they're not the best comps that we've got. Now, this one is the one that was in Shannon Green. So it's in the same neighborhood as the property that we're looking at. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. So it's in the same neighborhood as the property that we're looking at. And it looks like a split level. And let's see, it has a crawl space, doesn't have a basement, and it sold for $270. So the square footage is actually a little smaller than our property. Ours was 2,400 and something. Of course, they were built the same year. So that's giving validity to the fact that we could probably price this house, although why does it say lower level? That couldn't be right. They've got lower level, 1 bedroom and 1 bath as a 4-3, but then it says it doesn't have a basement. It's in a crawl space. It's kind of weird. So because this one's in the same neighborhood, let's look at the pictures on this one and see if it's comparable from that perspective. If I can get it to. It's got granite countertops and tile backsplash, but the cabinets are still old. Screen porch. Hardwood floors. So some of it's similar. I mean, the decorating is a little different, but that tile, doesn't really look that's been updated very much. I mean, I don't see a lot of upgrades in this house. What do you guys think? Yeah, see, that's a crawl space. See the vents here? I mean, that's a crawl space. That's not a basement. So that's kind of weird. Oh, but then there's a basement part. So this is probably one where like the finished basement part, if it's finished, has 600 square feet. Again, I got to see, you kind of got to see the house to see if it's comparable. Now this one's got a little bit more brick than ours does, the one that we're looking at. Okay, so yeah, we've got to use this comp. It's in the neighborhood. But I think that it looks like to me that the subject property is in a little better shape, a little more updated. Now, again, I don't know where the basement is and if it's finished. It says it's unfinished, but I've got to see this property. So I think I can go at least 270 based on just looking at this one house. Now, I may get shot out of the water here when I look at the next one. So let's see what it looks like. Because this one is also a 4.3.5. It says it has finished basement area, updated and remodeled. So let's see what it looks like. This is really weird, this picture. Come on. Got an in-ground pool. I don't give a lot of value to in-ground pools because there's people who love them and people that hate them. There's only 7 pictures. So the only thing we saw was it had granite countertops. The cabinets were stained, which means, they're probably the originals, which weren't ever updated. I mean, it didn't look to me like they were updated. What do you guys think?
No, and it has old appliances too.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have a built-in microwave. So it looks like the only thing they've done, maybe because we didn't see the rest of the house, is put granite countertops in, right?
Right.
And it has a pool. So again, my best bet is the one that was 270. As far as I know, I can at least go there to this house. I mean, this house is, like I said, it's somewhat comparable, but yet it doesn't seem as neutral. It doesn't seem as open as the subject property did, right? So I'm going to go to the house, and then when I take a look at it and I make all my notes, then I'll come back and compare it to, like these other houses.
Is it a bad idea to bump it to 3 miles radius? So you could get.
And that's what we will probably do to try and find something more similar.
Find a few more, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Because I want to make sure. I don't know if you guys have gotten this far yet, but when I list a property and it gets an offer on it, then what I do is I create an appraisal package. And I'm sure you've heard of that. And what I do is I put these comps in, and sometimes I have to update them depending on what the offer is. But I put these comps in that package along with the update list, the tax record, of course, the contract, and the seller's property disclosure, as much information as I can. And I create that appraisal package for a property so that I've got a little cover letter that pretty much just says, here's some information that might help you. Sometimes our resources are different. There's an update list of the things seller's done and repairs. So that way they can already see what comps I used in order to price the house. So yeah, I'm going to find it.
Are you saying you give that to the homeowner or to the appraiser?
I keep it in my file or at the office until I know the appraiser's going.
Okay.
And then the day before or whatever, I take it over to the property and I put it somewhere very, you know,
Visible.
laid out somewhere so that the appraiser sees it. And it's really weird. I don't make it fancy. In fact, I put it in like a manila envelope, not a manila, but one of those white envelopes, you know, a big white envelope. And I write on there appraiser information package and the property address. And I just lay it like on the countertop. Sometimes I put it at the front door if it's a covered front porch, wherever they're going to see it. I just put it very in a conspicuous place so that they can see it and pick it up and take it with them. Because I want them to have all that data, particularly the update list and the comps. And more often than not, when I see the appraisal, they've used that, because if I've got updates in there, like, you know, it's had a new roof, it's had this done and that done, they'll make notes of the notes I put in there or the update list. So, you know, it's very important, I think, to convey to that appraiser that you were diligent about finding the correct price and making sure you were using, you know, as much data as you can. So yeah, definitely going back to the criteria and taking this to 3 miles will give us a little bit more to look at. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not real crazy about the comps I have. I mean, as far as being comparable to the property that we're going to be looking at, right? So let's see what we get. And I go to the single line here. Okay. So we've got one that's low, a couple, well, one that's lower, but most of the rest of them are higher. And they're all in Smyrna, and then there's a couple in Austell. You know, Shannon Green, though, to be realistic, Shannon Green is kind of right on the outskirt, right at the corner there of where Smyrna and Austell start. I mean, it's, you know, right off Nickajack and Hicks Road. And so, yeah, Smyrna's address is here and Austell's, you know, to the west a little bit. So I can see where it's picking up a lot of that. So what I'm going to do, since I've got a few more to look at, is I'm going to go up here now and I'm going to take the ones that are 4-bedroom. I don't want to, you know, do a 5-bedroom, but let's look at the ones that are 4-bedroom. Because from a marketing perspective, that's what is giving us comparable information, right? So let's just say we're choosing these. You go down here to refine and you hit narrow. And now we can, now all we have to do is look at these. So our 2 comps from Shannon Green are in there. But let's go ahead and go up here and see what we're looking at. All right, here's a different house. It's a ranch. It really doesn't look anything like ours. I don't think it would be one that they would use. Let me see. Square footage is similar, but it was built the year before, but it's just not really, I don't think, comparable to the style, or although that's not as important as square footage, but I just don't think they would use it. I would probably pull this one in a pinch. If I didn't have anything else, I would probably go out and pull stuff like this. All right, here it looks like a split level, but it looks like it's brick. It is a 4-3. The square footage is 2250, comparable. It's a little bit older than our property, right? But it's sold for $335. So, you know, it's let's see. Let's see what it looks like. Carport, doesn't even have a garage. It's got to be the area, right? You know, King Springs, the schools, something, you know, that's just probably a little bit more desirable. I don't know. Carpet. Definitely must be desired. It's open. That's laminate countertops. They've painted the cabinets, white appliances, kind of a sunroom. Doesn't look like it's got a lot of up. Those have hardwoods in the bedrooms. There might be hardwoods under that carpet, but I don't know. I mean, to me, it doesn't look like it's really, it's got finished basement area. but it doesn't look like it's been updated very much to me at all.
Do you ever
Bless
take
you.
into consideration price per square foot?
Well, we'll get to that. Yes, to a certain extent we do. But again, this is the quick and down and dirty. Remember, we're using a very similar square footage, right? We're looking at 2250. The property we've got, the square footage on it is 2282. So we're looking at the very similar square footage, right? On the
Right.
properties and the age. So yeah, we're taking into consideration, but do I go out and say, okay, if I take these 4 properties and the average came out to 150, because this is 2282 times 150, I'm pricing it at this? No, because I think that's too cut and dry. I think you've got to take into consideration, you know, where the house is, what the value of the upgrades are, and different things that you're going to see in that house. And if you just go by a square foot, because the other reason is, let's say there's an upgrade, the granite countertops, for example. Some appraisers will give you $5 a linear foot, and some will give you $20 a linear foot. And there might even be one who'll give you 30. You just never know. So if you're trying to be cut and dry versus just saying, let me give it a little bit more value for this, then you can argue that a little bit better, because you say, these are the upgrades compared to this other house.
Gotcha.
And that's the only reason I just don't do cut and dry $150 a square foot. So it should be priced at this, because there's too many other variables. Like I said, I think we're looking at a lot of stuff in Smyrna, and in most cases, Smyrna is probably a little more desirable with the schools, some of the schools and some of the other things around it, the desire to be near, you know, the city market and different things like that, versus, you know, Mableton. But
Right.
I mean, the difference, if we were in, you know, if we were looking in Vinings, this 329 would be what, 500,000? You know, I mean, just depends on neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. So I don't do it cut and dry. So yeah, this one, you know, really not that comparable, because it doesn't even have the updates ours did, but it sold for more. This looks like a similar situation, to be honest with you. A Brick Ranch neighborhood sold for 314. Let's kind of take a look and see what it's got. Horrible pictures. Look at those curtains, the way they didn't stage this very well for, I mean, I know it's silly, but you know, I look at crazy things like that. It's like, that's not very desirable looking. Whoa, a lot of wood. A lot of wood. But it's sold. Hey guys, the whole thing about this is these sold, right? Oh man, this is not updated. Oh wow. They love
like
wood in this house.
Neighborhood.
And wood and wood and more wood. Wow. Yeah, the accent with the brown curtains. Well, it does have something of a finished basement. I can't really tell what. And the ceiling tiles look like they need a little work. Yeah, this is, yeah, I've seen enough of that one. So let's look at the next one. Another brick ranch, you know. Brick ranches, you know, are very popular with us older folk. We don't like steps. So they'll sell a lot of times very quickly to, you know, a specific market. Let's see what kind of updates we've got in this one, if any. It's nice curb appeal for a brick ranch. Got a screen porch. Hardwood floors. Okay, they've done some updates in here on this one. I'm not saying they're great, but they did them. Still carpet a lot of places. Where I look at, I can't figure out why that house didn't sell that expired, right? We're looking at all this stuff and going, why didn't that house sell? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I might use it and I might not. It just doesn't have as, again, we're back to the two properties that are in the neighborhood. So we're having kind of a difficult time, but based on what I'm seeing, now let's go back to the criteria real quick. And we've got, well, I'm sorry, I moved too fast. Okay, so because I couldn't find a whole lot of what we were thinking about, I'm going to use the 3 lowest properties here. I mean, I don't think it would be realistic of me to think that if there's only been 2 properties in the neighborhood that sold in the last 6 months, that, I can go to a higher price, outside the neighborhood. But there's one more thing we can do to try and find more comps. We went out 3 miles. Let's go back to the criteria. And instead of going back 6 months, let's go back a year. Because we could convince an appraiser to do a year, right? And let's see what we get by doing that. Whoa, let's see here. What do we got? So we're out 3 miles and we've gone back a year. I was really hoping to get some more properties in the Shannon Green neighborhood. So we've got another page here. Well, no, we don't. It's only 1 page. Well, that's kind of weird. What happened to the one that was 360 something? I mean, 260 something. Where did it go? Because that should have still been in the search, right?
Is it number 14?
Oh yeah,
can't-
wait a minute. I forgot this stupid mouse isn't working. You're right. Okay, so Shannon Green, yeah, it is 17. So we've got Shannon Green, it's 264. And we have 290. Aha, we have a 299 in Shannon Green. See that one? All right, so we got that one. We know the appraiser's still going to use this one because it's in the neighborhood. And then where's the other one? The 271. So we've got 3 in the neighborhood now. So let's take a look at the one that's 299. See what it looks like. Well, that's kind of weird looking like ours is, isn't it? All right, let's open it up. I mean, they're kind of similar. I mean, the other one, ours is framed. This looks like a stucco in frame. So.
So funny, I showed that house.
Did you? Well, it sold in the last year. That has a pool. Was it your buyer?
No, it wasn't. That pool wasn't finished.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's finished, but it didn't have any water or anything. It was just like covered. You're going to need to do some work to it.
I gotcha. All right, so.
But it was cute.
Kind of a cool entrance. Oh, nice entry. I mean, I like the,
Yep.
I mean, it looks kind of, updated, right? The beams on the ceiling.
It was
hardwood
updated.
floors. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the kitchen, okay.
Mhm.
Not my cup of tea, but it'll work. More like yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't
just
replace-
refinished the cabinets.
Yeah, they painted, they didn't replace it. But I mean, it's, that's, updated tile floors and the, that little sink. So yeah, this one's got some updates.
Cosmetics.
Yeah, mostly cosmetics. It's kind of cool, the new modern,
Mhm.
staircase thing. Basement, a little bit, it's not really finished, but it's
Can
there.
work.
An appraiser is probably not going to use that basement as finished, even though it looks sort of, if it doesn't have the heating and air down there, run to it, they're not going to consider it real finished space. It has to have heating and air because it's not livable if it doesn't have, heating ducts and stuff like that. It may, I'm just looking at it from this picture perspective. All right. So, but still, I think overall it's pretty comparable to ours. What do you guys think? Everybody agree? Disagree? Go back into our tax record here and look at that. Look at this one again.
Yeah,
So this one's, yeah, I mean, more comparable than most of them that, you know, we've looked at. Okay. Like I said, this one hasn't updated the kitchen any. So, you know, so back here, so you're definitely going to use this one. So I think, you know, now we'll go back to the single line display again. So we've got 3 comparables. Am I losing you guys? Are you all still with me? Any questions? Have I confused you on anything? I want to make sure I'm not
We're
moving too
with you.
fast. Huh?
We're with you.
Are we okay? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not moving too fast and that you're understanding everything we're looking at. And again, I wanted to preface this up front as we've not seen this house. So I'm trying to look at it perspective. We've not been there. This is not my best friend's house or, you know, my brother and sister-in-law's house or anything like that. This is a house, you know, in this case, the only reason I can see anything about it at all is because it was an expired listing a year ago. So anyway, all right, now, so we have a few others now that have come up within that last year. Let's go, you know, let's see, what else? Do we have anything else in Mableton? There's one down here at the bottom that's 239, and only because I'm curious, I'm going to look at it. Okay, it's 21, it's much smaller square footage, 2,133 square feet. See that over there. It is a 4.3. My guess is that it's it says it has a basement exterior, but it doesn't say there's anything finished in it. Built in 74. I'm gonna look at it just because. It's Christmas time. Lots of nasty looking wallpaper and really no upgrades at all. Maybe some appliances. Yeah, basement. Okay, doesn't appear anything's finished in the basement. So, okay. I'm just curious. I wouldn't probably use this one. You know, I just wanted to see since it was in Mableton. All right, so let's go back. So now what I'm going to do is, because I know right now, originally my thought was my highest price might have been 270, right? So now I've got a comp that says maybe I can go higher once I see the house and actually look at it. I might be able to go to 300. And why did I say 300? Somebody said earlier they'd listed at 269.9. When you do a search, most of the time, don't you search from 250 to 300 or 250 to 275 or 275 to 300? Isn't that normally how you do? You don't normally put in, you know, 255 to 269.8 or 9, right? I use even numbers because I know most of you and most of us search by even numbers. And let's say that let's say we decided to list this house at 300, and you have a buyer who qualifies from 300 to 325 or 315 or whatever. You're going to start your search at 300 up to 325 probably. And if I had this listed at 299.9, you wouldn't pull this property up, would you? So I usually use even numbers. And that way, if they're looking between 275 and 300, they see it. And if they're looking from 300 to 325, then they would see it as well. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? I think it's easier. Plus I don't, you know, I mean, what do you get by doing 269,999? I mean, you know, it's not Walmart, right? It's not on sale. You know, then when you do the special and you drop it to 284, you know, or whatever it is, then you can say, you know, deal of the day or something. I don't know. I'm just being silly. So what I do then
Hey,
is I go
Sandy.
a little, yeah, honey.
Hey, I had a quick question. So you wouldn't list a house for 1999, like right
No.
under 200?
No,
Okay.
I no, because like I said, if you're looking at, you have a buyer who qualifies for, you know, 200 and even $205,000, you know, where you start, you know, where are you starting your search? Are you going to start at 205? No, you're probably going to start at 200.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
So 2 to
Thanks.
210. And if you're at 199.9, then if I'm at 199.9, you're not going to see my listing because you started your search at 200,000. So I just think even numbers, because most of us start our searches on even numbers, you know, that it just has a better chance of being pulled up.
Okay.
So that's the reason I do it. I mean, again, you can do whatever you want to do, but I'm just explaining why I do it the way I do it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and look at a couple of properties that are a little more expensive, a couple of more that are higher than ours, and look and take a look at it and see. Oh, we already looked at this one. If they're comps we can use. So we know we really didn't want to use that one. And that's the other one that we thought we might have to use. But we've got 3 in the neighborhood. So I would probably still use this one because it was like at least a little bit more updated than the others were. So I'm going to hang on to this one. And then let's go back a little bit. We already saw that one, wasn't comparable. This one really wasn't either. I'm just trying to see what else is comparable, if there's anything else comparable from a looks or aesthetic perspective. No, I mean, I'm still not, and I think we're getting way out of our price range here, you know, again, in Smyrna, Bennett Woods, super hot neighborhood. Whoops, it's going down. So then let's see what's in between that 299 and the 270 that we had. Whoops, should go back. All right, so we had the 290. Here's one for 293. Let's see if it's comparable. I mean, it is a split, you know, split level, which is what we're looking at. Hardwood floors. That's weird, but getting some feedback. If somebody wants to mute themselves, it'd be helpful. It's got a screen porch. Looks like the basement might be finished. Kind of funky colors, and they didn't do, you know, it'd probably been better if they'd painted the trim work in the doors, but whatever. It sold. They updated this bathroom a little. Okay, so I would probably use this comparable as well. What do you guys think? Would it be one you would use? Yes,
Yep.
no? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so
Especially
let's go
considering
back.
the slim margin.
Do what, hon?
I was saying, especially considering the slim margin. that we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Picking.
I think so. I think so too. So now what I do, okay, so I'm kind of done looking, and I've picked out 5 properties that I'm gonna use or have in my market analysis for this house. Now, I'm still using the one down at 640 Shannon Green because it's in the neighborhood and I know that the appraiser is going to use it. He may not weight it the same, but they're gonna use it because it's in the neighborhood. Everybody got that? So let's go down here and refine our search and narrow it down again. Okay, so now those are our 5 properties. Then you go over to the actions. And now, see this button says quick CMA? This is what we're going to use. Do not use the cloud CMA. How many of you have tried to use that? The reason I'm telling you not to
I did.
is we have learned that if you use that cloud CMA and you send it to your client, that is also sent to Zillow. And guess what? Zillow starts marketing to your client to buy their house.
Mm.
So I don't use the cloud CMA. If I'm going to do a full-blown CMA, I will use this one over here. But again, I'm not doing that right now. This is the quick and easy, down and dirty CMA. So I'm just going to a quick CMA. And it brings this up for me. And I go down to the bottom and look at the quick stats. And it says here that the average is what I look at. The average list price was $292. The median was $299.9. The average sales price was $286,560, and the median was $293. You know, the list to sale percentage, median was really 98.2, or the average is 98.2, 100%. You know, so this is very informative. So if I were going to the house and it looked like it did or has more updates and whatever, I'm definitely going to tell them that I think the property should be listed at 300,000, because I'm pretty sure it would appraise for that based on this information. Okay. And like I said, now, if the house doesn't have the updates or has some real deficiencies, then we're going to start looking at this minimum down here and say, okay, well, it's not as good as the 264.9. So that's why I keep the other reason I keep the 264.9 is because I don't know what the house looks like. I mean, I do, since we've seen pictures, but again, if I've never been there, and, you know, pictures can be deceiving as well, right? So, you know, the other thing we can look at, if I can get it to move over, I've got you guys here. Y'all can probably see it and I can't because I've got the screen up. Is the days on the market. Now, anybody see that? Let me see if I can get this to move over. Again, I hate this mouse. It does not want to move the way I want it to.
It's all the way to the right.
I know, but my Zoom screen is in the way and I can't see it. So there we go. All right. So yeah. So pretty much the average days on the market looks like it's 45 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 12 days median, whatever, on all the listings. Now, the other question you're asking all of a sudden is, well, you don't have any active listings in here. No, we don't. I usually do those separately. I just pull those separately because this is based on pricing, on what I think it will sell for. I want to see what the competition is. So I'll go back and I'll do a search on just the actives with that same criteria to see what else is on the market. Now we kept, you know, we had that in our search, but for some reason when I do this and I, haven't figured it out yet, it does not pull those. I don't know why. It won't bring up the actives a lot of times. I'm gonna close that. So I save it. So if I go back to like the original results.
Can you show me which link you went to for the quick CMA again? I missed that one.
Yep, sure thing. If we go down here to actions, see, we've got those checked, and you go over here to quick CMA in the green bar down here. It'll bring that up.
Okay.
But if you look in here, everything that this thing pulled was closed. There's no actives. And if you go back to our criteria, see, we kept active in there. So I don't know why. So now what I'll do now, and like I said, this is kind of my last step because I've already printed that CMA off, or saved it or whatever I've done, that quick CMA. So I know which properties and everything I've looked at. Is now I'll take out this closed right here and I'll hit results and just see what else is active. Nothing. Have no competition in that. Now, in that price range, in that, the reason in that 3 mile area, there's something for sale, right? So we've got to go back to our criteria now. And we have to take out like the square footage or the age. Well, let's do this. So there's nothing 3 miles of that house. Yeah, let's take out the square footage. Well, no, let's take out the address. No, let's take out square footage. I'm confusing you, aren't I? I'm trying to see if I can find stuff so I'll take that out first and I'll hit results. Because I still want to be within 3 miles of the neighborhood of the house. All right, so there's 3 houses listed. So let's see what they look like. Well, that looks like a brick ranch that's in Concord Village. There's a split level. It's 259. It's absolutely nothing. It's only 1,800 square feet. So realistically, we're in pretty good shape at 300, don't you think? With 2282 square feet. And this one's listed as far as competition goes. This is another ranch. It's only 1,300 square feet, 210,000. So let's go back to our criteria again. And because I'm going to take out the year this time, but I'm also going to change this from 3 miles to 2 because I want to see what is closer that is for sale. And I need to go to my list. There's 14 properties. And I'm really kind of looking in Mableton is what I'm hoping to look for. So we know there's a 715,000. We're not comparable to that, right? Whoop, stop it. I was trying to get on this to change this. And again, so we can see all the Mableton properties that are for sale. 190, 280, 295, 320. So let's look at those that are 280. See what our competition looks like. Obviously a newer house, 1999. Okay, it's a 4.3, 280. So we got some competition from a perspective of there's a much newer house. It's much bigger and everything in Mableton. Different neighborhood, of course. So it depends on where they want to live. The previous one is kind of a brick ranch, I guess. It's 295. It's a 4.2. 1,700 square feet listed at 295. This one's kind of weird. 320,000. It's only 1,248 square feet, updated, remodeled. And reason again, I'm only looking at this competition. That it's not that they're gonna, these haven't sold, and are they really competition or not? It depends on where they are, what schools, other, like I said, from a perspective of square footage, absolutely not. This is a much smaller house and older, 1955, and they're asking 320. But again, it depends on, how attractive the neighborhood is and where they want to be. This is a newer one, 2286, similar square footage. It's a 4.2. It was built in 85, so it's 10 years newer than our property, and it's listed 335. So yeah, we could, we could use this as competition, but it really, and it's in Shannon Glen, so it is probably pretty close to where the property is. Let's see what it looks like. Done some hardwood floors. They updated the cabinets, but and the appliances, backsplash. I mean, it's had a few updates. Big sunroom. Yeah, maybe. So, I mean, yeah, that might be some competition, but I still think that we, based on the neighborhood where we are, we're still going to be right around that 300 mark. So let's see what else. We've gone up to see what competition is. Let's see, down. Did we look at this one? Yeah. All right. So let's look at the next one. See what's lower than what we're looking at pricing ours at. Smaller, newer, but it's 3,700 square feet. Oh, that's 619,000. Why did that come up? Oh, it's not in Mableton. So around Mableton, we really don't have a whole lot of competition. Okay. Is this making sense to you guys? Are you guys okay with all this? That's how I do it. Like I said, and I create that package. I'd use that little CMA form, and then I actually print off those listings as well when I'm doing it for the appraiser thing. And even for the homeowner, I'll print those off and I'll highlight the things that are, comparable and look like the property and what's the deficiency, so that we can then discuss that pricing a lot of times. So if you know, what questions do you have for me? Does everybody know how to do a CMA now?
Roughly.
I think so.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said, I think so.
Okay.
Sandy?
All right. I will tell you
Yeah.
what I've been finding is with the pools lately. I don't know if it's just because of the whole COVID situation, but every house that I've went to see with a pool, I mean, the prices were not really the price. The price was fine, but then the offers that came in after, it was like 20,000 over, and it was really crazy. It's a crazy market for places with pools. So I was wondering, would you give the pool more value now?
I don't give it a whole, I give it some value depending on, like, if it's a, good night pool or whatever. I mean, I give it some value because there are people who really want a pool, but then there are people who won't even look at a house because it's got a pool. The appraisers will usually give it some value, but they're not usually going to give it $20,000 or $30,000. Again, though, that depends on the appraiser. Some appraisers will give you more value than others do for different things. So I usually will add maybe 10,000 for it. But it is crazy. And here's my point. I'll give you a quick example. I had a listing out here in Douglasville, 145,000. Well, of course, it got just bombarded. We had 48 hours, we had 23 showings and 11 offers. Some of those offers were $20,000 above what we had it listed for. Well, excuse me, I've been here doing this for 26 years. I know this market. If I thought that house was going to sell for 165,000, don't you think I would have priced it there? So why are you offering me 20,000, more for a listing? I could see offering 10 and hope, and maybe getting the appraisal to come in close to that. But I don't, even then, if I'm doing an appraisal package, I've got to work harder to find comps that are even going to justify that, because of course, if I take that offer, I'm going to do an appraisal package that's modified to say it's going to sell for this, because they're not going to consider the fact that, I got 11 offers. They're going to consider what has sold, And so that's why to me, it's more important to try and price it as close to accurately as possible. You know, why create more work and hardship for yourself and your client? Because their expectations go up when they start seeing all those offers, you know, that are much higher. So, you know, take care to price it as close to correctly as possible. Excuse me. And even then, you're going to get an appraisal occasionally. It's going to come in lower. And regardless of what you do, you know, it's going to come in lower just because the appraiser doesn't know the area, did not, you know, maybe was lazy. And I'm not saying that it happens that often, but occasionally it does. And the more data you have that's accurate and good, like this is square footage, it's so within a year, it's within so many miles, you know, please use this comparable and make them justify why they didn't. So, you know, that's why I try and do this as close to what I think the house would sell for. Now I'll give you a quick update. Here's the house. I know y'all can't see it. That was listed. You can pull it up. It was 600 Shannon Green. It was on the market for $275, and it was on the market for 92 days. In October of 2019 to January of 2020. Now, why this house didn't sell, I have no idea. You know, but it was listed at that time at 275. So, and now we're talking about listing it now at 300, right? Because the market's a little different from that time frame. But again, I have to see it. I don't know if it'll sell for that or not until I go see it. But I hope this gives you enough data to know you can have an accurate picture or close to an accurate picture of what the value should be or what it should appraise for. Is that helpful? Any questions, guys? Anything else I can answer for you?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Yes.
When would you start using the regular CMA, not the quick?
Well, after I've gone and looked at it and had the quick CMA, and I come back, and if I'm modifying any of my comps and so forth, then I'm going to go down, and yes, I'm going to, because I want it to be a nicer presentation, right? So I'm going to go into the regular CMA down here and create this one. I don't use the cloud, and it actually creates a pretty nice little CMA that you can do, and you can use the comps. I don't make really adjustments because, again, I don't want to have them assume I am an appraiser in any way, shape, or form. I just explain that the appraiser might make adjustments for those differences in the property. But the most important thing they're going to normally look at is the square footage and the age, and you know, and because you know your client thinks because they put extra insulation in the attic that their house is worth more. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. And I'm kind of being facetious about it, but I had one guy tell me he had white lightning caulking all through his house, and he felt like that because it cost him $2,000 to do that. At the time, I had no idea what white lightning caulking was, but that he thought his house should be worth $5,000 more than anybody else's. You know, the buyer doesn't care if you've got white lightning caulking because you know whatever it is. So anyway, just kind of crazy stuff like that. But yeah, when I'm actually going to do a really nice presentation with a marketing analysis, then I'll use like the CMA thing here. But I found that most people don't care how pretty it is as long as the information's accurate. You know, they just want you to be able to convey to them that you know what you're talking about and that you are the expert. Because if it looks really good and it's flashy, but you can't explain it or you don't know why, then, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to them.
Yeah, so the answer is it's not like every single time you're trying to sell the house, you need to do this full CMA. Quick CMA could work just fine.
I think so. I use it more often than I do creating a CMA. I've done, I tell you when I've used this most, I've got an out-of-town seller and I'm not actually going to meet him, but I go, you know, I have access to the property and I go there. So I haven't been able to build a relationship or talk to them much. then I'll do this one so that then I can talk them through it. And it's a little bit better presentation because I can email it to them and that kind of stuff. So I've used this more for like out of town sellers than I have for the ones I meet in person, because I really feel, you know, I do a much better job. My presentation's much better in person and talking with folks than it is to sit and kind of show them or go through a whole bunch of papers and maps and graphs and stuff like that.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Nope. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys for being on here. You know, it's going to be recorded. I'll have Liz put it on the Facebook page for us, and that way we'll have it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You know, I'm here in Douglasville, so I can, and just send me an email or text. I'm on the city side pages and all, and my numbers, all my numbers are on there in my email. So let me know if you have any questions. Everybody
Thank you
have a
so
good day.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
We need to